Western Digital WDC Beginner's Guide. Every time an AI model trains on years of internet data, that data has to live somewhere, on a spinning disk, in a giant warehouse, owned by a company like Western Digital. WDC is one of only 2 companies in the world that still makes large-scale hard disk drives, and the AI era is now their biggest tailwind. Quick reminder before we dive in, this guide is educational only, not investment advice. So, what does WDC actually do? Western Digital is now a pure-play HDD maker, meaning they only make hard disk drives, the type of storage where data is written onto spinning magnetic platters. They used to also sell flash memory chips through a sister brand called SanDisk, but they spun that off in February 2025 to focus entirely on HDDs. Today, the company sells into 3 buckets. The biggest by far is cloud, which made up 89% of last quarter's revenue at about $3 billion. These are nearline drives, a fancy industry word for the high-capacity drives that data centers use to store stuff that needs to be accessible but isn't being read every second. Think of the photos you uploaded to Google 5 years ago, or the training data sitting on Amazon Web Services for an AI model that mostly lives on nearline HDDs. The other 2 buckets are small. Consumer is about 6% of revenue. Those are the external WD-branded drives you might plug into a laptop. And client is about 5%, the internal HDDs inside desktop and notebook PCs. To understand who feeds the company and who buys from it, picture 3 boxes. On the left, suppliers, companies that make the head wafers and magnetic media that go inside a drive, plus the aluminum and glass substrates, the tiny motors, and the precision equipment used to assemble everything. In the middle, Western Digital itself. They run big factories in Thailand and Malaysia where they manufacture the drives using their own proprietary technologies, and they spend roughly 4 to 6% of revenue on capital expenditures. That just means money invested back into the factories. On the right, customers, hyperscalers like Amazon Web Services, Google, and Meta, enterprise data centers, PC makers like Dell, HP, and Lenovo, and consumer retail. So, who does WDC compete with, and how does it win? Here is the most important business fact about Western Digital. The entire global market for large-capacity HDS is essentially split between 2 companies, WDC and Seagate. Toshiba is a distant third. That structure is called a duopoly, 2 players with most of the market, and it matters because neither WDC nor Seagate is racing to add new factory capacity. Instead, they both grow the total bits they can ship by improving the technology inside each drive. That discipline keeps prices stable and reduces the brutal boom-bust cycles the storage industry used to live through. Western Digital's edge is what engineers call areal density, how many bits you can pack onto a single square inch of a platter. The more bits per platter, the more storage you sell with the same factory footprint, which means higher gross margins. Gross margin meaning revenue minus the direct cost of making each drive. They sell 32 terabyte drives today, have 40 terabyte drives going through customer testing with volume shipping expected in the second half of 2026. And they have an even more advanced 44 terabyte HDD in qualification using a new technology called HMR, short for heat-assisted magnetic recording. Their roadmap stretches beyond 100 terabytes per drive. The honest caveat, Seagate has been shipping HMR drives for over a year already, so WDC has to execute cleanly on quality and yields to keep its share. Their moat, meaning competitive advantage, the thing that keeps other companies from catching up, is what we'd call narrow. Strong, but not unassailable. HDDs also face longer-term competition from SSDs, which are flash-based drives that have no moving parts. If flash gets cheap enough per terabyte, some workloads shift over. What are the key drivers for the business over the past 5 years? 3 forces explain the last 5 years. First, AI changed the demand picture overnight. To train an AI model, you need to feed it enormous amounts of text, images, and video, and all of that data has to be stored cheaply and reliably. HDDs are still the most cost-efficient way to store huge volumes, so as hyperscalers expanded their data centers for AI training and inference being the part where the AI actually answers your questions, they needed a lot more storage. Cloud revenue for WDC grew from around $5 billion to $8.3 billion. The total volume of bytes shipped grew 57% in fiscal 2025. And the average price per drive climbed 29% as customers moved to higher capacity models. Second, the SanDisk separation cleaned up the business. By spinning off the flash unit, WDC removed an extremely volatile profit stream, cut overhead by 22%, and concentrated all of its research and development spending on HDD technology. The third force is a software innovation called UltraSMR. It's a clever way of organizing how data gets written to the platter that squeezes about 20% more capacity out of the same drive with no extra hardware. 3 of the largest customers have already adopted it, and the company expects 60% of fiscal 2027 capacity to use UltraSMR. Combine those 3 forces, AI demand, the cleaner pure-play structure, and UltraSMR, and gross margins expanded from a trough of around 22% to over 50% by the most recent quarter. To wrap up, so in one sentence, Western Digital is one of only 2 companies left in the world that makes large-capacity hard disk drives, and the AI build-out is filling their order books with multi-year contracts from hyperscale cloud customers. If you're learning about the business, the things to keep an eye on are the rollout of 40 terabyte and 44 terabyte HMR drives over the next year, how customers continue to adopt UltraSMR, and the broader question of whether HDDs keep their cost advantage over flash-based SSDs as memory prices evolve. And the usual reminder, this is educational only and not investment advice.